Welcome everyone to Mountaineer Farm Talk. We have another exciting week. A couple good guests here. We're talking about fly control. My name is JJ Barrett. I'm the extension agent for agriculture and natural resources here in Wood County, Parkersburg, West Virginia. Of course, my co-host with the most, Evan Wilson. He is now over in Mason County. Evan, how are you this morning?
I am doing great, JJ. It's going to be a nice sweltering July day here in Point Pleasant today, and we've really been missing the heat here this summer. It feels like more rain showers, but rain's always a good thing, right? This time of year, you're always want to get
Yeah,
that grass growing, get more crops with water on them.
people were saying it wasn't hot enough this summer. Well, welcome to July.
Yeah, it'll come. Don't rush it
Oh, yeah.
along to get here.
It was excruciating yesterday. Very hot. This morning, we're going to be talking about fly control for our livestock out in our pasture fields. And we have two expert guests with us this morning. First, we have Ted Wiseman. He is with Ohio State Extension over in Perry County. Ted, how are you this morning?
Doing great. We finally reached the Friday, JJ.
Good. Yeah, thank God it's Friday. And then we also have Walt Graham, and he is with Merck Animal Health. Walt, how are you this morning?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me on.
Appreciate you coming on the program. Well, we'll dive a little bit into. I will start with Ted. Tell us a little bit about your background there. What work you do with livestock there in Perry County. I was looking some stuff online. It said you're on the beef team, and you you do work with carcass evaluation.
Yeah, do a lot with the swine team. I mean, my graduate degrees were in swine actually, but then
okay.
when I graduated, the market crashed and they all went vertically integrated. So don't have a whole lot of small swine producers anymore. But grew up on a livestock farm. You name it, we pretty much raised it at one time or another. But do a lot of beef cow pasture walks and that kind of work here in the county or across the state.
Okay. And you are now what does the beef team do there for Ohio State Extension?
We have a weekly newsletter that goes out with various topics. Then the beef team, we have different programs around the state that we'll conduct in different counties. Try to rotate them around the state. Actually, there's a program coming up in September. It's a stockmanship program there at the Eastern Research Farm in Caldwell. I can send you the contact information on that, JJ, if you have any producers that want to come up. That's put on by the National Cattlemen's Organization, and we'll be talking about AI, cattle health, working with cattle, different setups and designs. So I can get that to you if you're interested.
Yeah, send that to Evan, and he'll put the link up on our Mountaineer Farm Talk.
All right.
Walt, welcome to the program, and tell us a little bit about your background and what you do for Merck Animal Health.
So I've only been with Merck since last September, but I grew up on a beef cattle operation where we had cows and calves and ran stocker cattle over in Tazewell County, Virginia. So right on the West Virginia border, and went to Virginia Tech. So I don't know, you guys may want to hold that against me. I'm not sure. But I grew up in Virginia, went to Virginia Tech, got out of school, had several different jobs, worked at tractor dealership, a couple other odd men things, and actually ran a store, animal health store, starting in 2005 over in Giles County, again, right on the West Virginia border, where I sold everybody's animal health, kind of worked as a distributor and worked for a couple different distributors selling everybody's drugs for from 2005 to 2013, and worked for Bangor Ingelheim for a stint and Lanco for a short stint, and finally landed here at Merck and feel like it's a really good fit for me, and glad to be part of that team now.
Good. Well, let's just jump right in. I'll start with you first. Why are I guess what kind of damage do flies inflict on our livestock in the summer, and maybe talk a little bit about some of the different types of flies that we have out there that we're trying to control.
So one of the first things that we start to see when fly season comes around, and the way it was explained to me several years ago, is when we start to see at least 200 flies per animal that we start to realize an economic impact as far as affecting gain on the cattle. And there's two different kinds of flies. There's a horn fly and a face fly. The horn fly will take a blood meal from the calf, and you get enough of them, you can make small calves pretty anemic with that. Especially when you combine flies with some of the tick issues that we have in some of the mountainous areas. But so one of the things that we see more and more prevalent in the last few years is lots of pink eye. And of course, flies land on face flies, and all flies, but flies especially, will land in that optical fluid when we get a calf with a little bit of a runny eye. And they're just transferring bacteria from calf to calf with that. And, we're seeing more of a spread. When we have more flies there, we see more of that spreading between animals. Plus, some of the pink eye strains that we deal with now, and in my opinion, and that's all it is an opinion, but most of the pink eye strains we see now are going back to the bovaculi strain, which is not in any of the commercial vaccines. There's a couple conditionally licensed vaccines out there, but it's just a really nasty, mean strain of pink eye that does a lot of mutating. So when we have a lot of flies or vectors there that can carry that bacteria, that's got to be a bigger issue in the last few years, just because it's really hard to treat.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Ted?
I just add that there's stable flies as well, not so much in the pasture field, but they can, reduce weights on calves too with their, stomping their feet and moving around like Walt said, but they can do some real damage.
I guess I'll stay with you, Ted. I didn't put this in the questions I sent, but I was trying to read up what type of weather are flies more prevalent, a hot, dry summer, or like you said, where it rains every couple of days?
I think they're prevalent about whenever. I mean, the drier, if we have a really dry weather, that'll dry up the manure piles quicker. But 10, 20 days, they, if we got good weather, they can go from an egg to an adult. So they can multiply pretty quick. So even if they're knocked back a little bit, they'll come back with a vengeance pretty fast.
Yeah. And Ted, of course, am I right in saying that the horn fly is probably the most devastating as far as damage, dollars worth of damage to the livestock industry?
Yeah, like Walt said, they're blood feeders. They'll feed 20, 30 times a day on an animal, and their economic losses are in the billions, so they claim, for the cattle industry in the U.S.
Yeah. And what about this? I guess I'll move back to Walt. The face flies, which ones are the ones the fly tags will work better on? Is it both of those, or the face flies are up more towards there where maybe those horn flies are getting their meals off the rest of the body there on our livestock?
So contrary to what a lot of us think, the ear tags are, the way they work is those animals are rubbing those tags on the rest of their body when they're leaning around, licking their side or self-grooming a little bit. They're moving that tag around on their body, or when they're grouped up, they're moving, one calf may be moving the tag across the belly of a cow or what have you. And when that chemical gets put on that animal, that's what that's how it's killing the flies. So, as bad as those tags smell, you would think, man, that's going to attract the flies to it, and they're going to get on there and it's going to kill them. And maybe it does some of that, but those tags are more for applying the chemical to the cattle in the group. And, they work on both, but we see a lot more horn fly control with the chemicals than we do face flies, just because face flies will travel a longer distance. And they can go, I think it's up to 1 mile to 2 miles. And Ted, correct me if I'm getting this backwards. But they just travel more, and they're probably not quite as susceptible because they are traveling more and covering more ground, and they're not having that constant exposure. Whereas your horn flies will kind of pick a host and stay right there with that group.
Yeah.
No, I agree with
Oh, go
that,
ahead,
Walt.
Ted.
The challenge is if you're trying to control flies on your herd and you got a neighbor that does nothing, that really makes it difficult. So, you know, you got to pick your poisons and do the best you can with what you've got to work with.